we are back with another exciting episode of It's Complicated. You'll notice I am flying solo again this evening. Larry's MIA, life happens. Believe it or not, it is a tad challenging organizing and trying to sync schedules when you are spread throughout 10 different time zones. So it's kind of crazy, you know. Anyhow, first things first. We're gonna operate without Larry. I'm gonna do my best to try to muddle through this, and we do have a special guest this evening that I'm very excited about. We'll get into that a little bit later. First things first, I have to give a huge shout out to Team USA for winning a world championship in freestyle wrestling this weekend. That's right. To the mainstream, you may not have realized that America won an actual world championship in a sporting event, and it's wrestling, which is the greatest and oldest sport in the world. Oldest sport in the world, can't argue that. Greatest sport in the world. You can debate it with me, but you're gonna lose. So we had the Magic Man, David Taylor, won gold. Zane Rutherford, Vito Araju, gold medalist, 3 of them. Kyle Dake, he's kind of been the man on top in his weight class and dropped a couple points, so he pulled silver. Zahid Valencia bronze, Mason Paris bronze. One of our own from Illinois, Zane Richards, competed at the world level. He beat Thomas Gilman a few months ago to make the world team, so that was huge. Just a fantastic weekend and a week to be a wrestling fan in the US of A. And the women are going toe-to-toe right now too. So we're coming in strong, not only on the men's side, but the women's. I know Jakara Winchester got a silver, Jen Page got a bronze. We still have 2 gold medalists in Helen Maroulis and Adeline Gray to complete their brackets, as well as Sarah Hildebrand and some others. So again, just super excited about that. If you aren't real in tune with wrestling, I know it's kind of hard to get into. It's one of those sports that you can watch and you don't really understand, but I encourage you. It's like a human chess match. So to me, it's the foundation. Like a lot of great MMA fighters and champions, their background is wrestling. So won't stir too much more on that. I just wanted to say how proud I am and how happy I am to be an American and to know that our team won world title, because we haven't always been tops when it comes to wrestling, but we are kind of the cream of the crop now. Moving along. Something I want to talk about before we introduce our special guest this evening. Let's talk about spooky season. It's really hard for me to say with complete certainty what my favorite time of the year is, but spooky season is definitely near the top. I'm a warm weather guy, but when the leaves change, it's very colorful outside, and we start getting to see new release horror movies, that's when I get excited. I remember torturing our youngest and making him watch scary movies with us at a very young age. There kind of came a point where we would have to coax him downstairs into the living room and tell him we were watching Nemo or The Incredibles or Hotel Transylvania, something really easy for him to watch. Lo and behold, it was not Hotel Transylvania. He quickly realized that, but he was tough. Tougher than nails, stuck it through. So we went, not Hotel Transylvania, but maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Texas Chainsaw Master, as he puts it. So anyway, I probably scarred him emotionally for life, but the funny thing is how life works. He is the greatest wingman when it comes to watching new horror flicks. I don't know for how many years we've gone, whether it's It, excuse me, any of the new release horror movies, he's like, Dad, we gotta go. So, yeah, we've gone to the last few Halloweens, which I can't say when you try to pick your style of scary movie, I can't say that Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers are my go-to. I love that, but it's definitely not one that I would pick up and watch before something like, I don't know, Saw, The Blair Witch. I remember being in high school. I think I was a senior in high school when Blair Witch came out. And the marketing and the lead up for that was off the charts. It became a cultural phenomenon. And the budget, right? Very low budget. They almost kind of set a precedence for movies like that. And I guess you look at Paranormal Activity now. I'm sure that kind of spawned from some of the things that Blair Witch did. But anyway, that one was one that definitely made the hair on my arm stand up. You kind of question yourself. Anybody's that's spent out time in the woods, camping, or doing whatever, has gone off because they had to use the restroom or they just wanted a few minutes to themselves, whatever, and they're out there in the woods by themselves, can let their mind wander. So a movie like Blair Witch kind of gets you thinking, could that be real? The supernatural, right? I don't know. Again, I mentioned the Saw series. For some reason, I don't know why that does it for me, but it does. It's just maybe the idea of having a dream about waking up in a room where you're shackled to a chair and you've got to play a game in order to save your own life. It's pretty gnarly. Wrong Turn, I know that was one that the boys growing up were pretty creeped out by, the mountain men. But that could be a reality. We actually went on it's kind of funny, we went on a vacation a couple years ago to West Virginia, and we rode UTVs, like really cool UTVs, all through the mountainside. It was one of the coolest experiences at vacations we'd ever been on. So of course, there was actually a sign out there when we're riding that said something about wrong turn in or something, and we got a snicker out of that. But anyway, creepy season is exciting for me. Like the movies Wrong Turn, Saw, those sometimes give me the old heebie-jeebs. Give me the old heebie-jeebs, because I guess you just never know that it may or may not be real. Okay, so I think we've established that. And if you want to play along and you're watching this little broadcast, feel free to drop your favorite movie in the comments. Okay, enough foreplay. It's time to announce another comic in our upcoming comedy series. Most recently, he just finished up on America's Got Talent last week. Believe it or not, last week, this special guest was on America's Got Talent. He's had multiple appearances on The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon. His comedy special, Adorable, is streaming on HBO, and he voices the character in animated kids films Louie and the Aliens on Hulu. He's appeared on 3 episodes of True TV's Laugh Tracks and on TBS Rec League. He's been a contestant on the NBC show Bring the Funny, and he was a finalist in NBC's Stand-Up Showcase. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the one and only Orlando Leyba. Well, let's dive in. You're hot off the trail of America's Got Talent.
Yes.
How was that experience?
America's Got Talent is such a well-oiled machine, and it's kind of like, as a comic, you're going in with the odds stacked against you, 100%. You're just a microphone and some clever jokes that you came up with that you hope that you can connect with everybody. Also, the time where they, just like everybody else, they don't give me a little bit more time or no. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Make me laugh. And even as the rounds move on, make me laugh. I just, I got sent home last week, and people are like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. I tell people, I know what I was in for. I love the show. Everybody does want you to win. But the main thing about it is I got 2 national commercials. That's the way that I've always thought of this. And I got this from some old timers that they say this is why you would do Johnny Carson, because you would do that Johnny Carson and then you can get work, because here is nationally broadcast, not to mention on YouTube, which is a whole uh, another animal for them. You
Yeah.
know, uh, here's my services, and here's two appearances, here's two commercials. That basically the way I know I'm doing the show for them, and they're monetizing that show, but I know that they're giving me free airspace. You know, like
Right.
here you go.
100%.
It's a trade-off here. Give us your talent, and everybody, 10 million people get to see you. And right
Yeah.
away, Brandon, I got off, and like right away, my booking agent Stu Goffman, I picked him up already right before I made my deal with Raven, and right away he's already 2024. The calendar's just piling on. It's just piling
I
on.
bet it
Awesome.
is. I bet it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that exposure was awesome. And I
Yeah.
can only imagine what it's like. That's almost, comedy is subjective.
One
And I
hundred
think you did a
percent.
fantastic job
Mhm.
appealing to a broad audience.
Yes.
I do. A funny thing about America's Got Talent this year, and I don't know I don't know if you get to know or speak to many of the other uh, contenders, but a band that I follow, a kind of comedy spoof '80s band, Steel Panther, was
Yes.
on America's Got Talent too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
a broad spectrum, and I'm sure they had a heck of a time trying to win the crowd over.
Yes, no, they won the crowd over because it's rock, it's heavy metal, and the people got into it. Just like me, they only made it that they got those two rounds. So Steel Panther now has the documentary, and they have two free commercials
Yep.
that now they can put up, and it's gonna live forever on online. And I think they did it for the same reason, you know. And
Sure.
you just do it, and man, the interaction with the fans or like the comments, man, I've gotten so good at it. Right now, my whole move is understandable. When hey man, you're awful. Don't quit your day job. You absolutely are terrible. And
Yeah.
I press like, I give it a little heart, and then I write understandable. And I
Yeah.
actually have one that I took a screenshot because the guy was he was all caps, and he was like, you suck, and you're awful and everything. I go understandable, and then like understandable is a way of getting someone that's going 100 miles per hour on some whatever they're dealing with,
Yeah.
and you hit them with an understandable, and it's kind of like an emergency brake. It just stops them because they have to analyze what does he mean understandable.
Sure.
Does he agree with me? And sure enough, like a couple hours later, the guy goes, hey man, I apologize, sometimes I can be an asshole. And I
Yeah.
go, I get it, you know. That's it.
I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of his outlook on life. So when people, I've been in a leadership position. I've been a musician for 20 plus years. So when you put yourself out there, like you're gonna take the good and the bad. And the way that Gary Vee kind of presents or approaches that is, people are emotionally scarred. You have to understand when they make comments like that. Um, that may be coming from the way they were raised. Who knows why? But you have to understand that that's coming from within. There's some unhappiness deep inside them,
Yes.
and they're trying to project that out to you. And you don't necessarily have to take it. You just like,
Yeah, 100%. There's something there. There's something happening. There's something going on, and maybe by me putting understandable or I concur. That's another one I like to use. I concur. You know, and hitting the like button. It either is gonna trigger them to get more angry, or what I truly hope it does. It kind of like just slows them down wherever they are in their life right now. They just take a beat, and like it worked with that guy. He was just
Yeah.
like, and he told me, I still didn't like you, but I apologize for being an asshole. You know,
Sure.
so a lot of times they just think that they're talking to the program itself, that it isn't going to be the actual person. You know, I ran into a lot of that, and I used to go back and forth with people. And then I figured out, no, it's not really worth it, you know. And
100%.
another one that I got is like, and then one of my comedian buddies jumped in, and he was like, "This guy was awful, da da da, basic comic. He shouldn't be doing stand up, everything." And then my buddy goes, "No, this guy's actually a really good comic, and he's actually a working comic. Not many comics can actually say that."
Right?
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to tell me, but he's nowhere near. He has to be more of a Bill Burr or Jim Jeffries, and he named all these comics who all happen to be my friends, and they all like me, and they all hire me to open for them. And
That's
I was gonna say, "Oh, thank you so much. These are all the guys that I go on the road with, and I
yeah.
open up." And I was just like, nah, let him have it. So I hit him with
Yep.
a like and I concur, like that. I
Yeah.
hit him with an
Love
I
it.
concur, and that's it.
Love
He got off. He won't. He's not talking. He's not the chatter. And at the same time, Brandon, here's the thing: negative or positive, they're still moving the algorithm. And I never thought I would be a guy that would talk this way, uh, just mentioning algorithms and stuff like that. But now that's the world that my comedy um, community's in, and I
it. Yeah.
have to embrace it. And I've been embracing it. And right now, I'm getting a lot of messages from other comics that are like, "Hey, dude, we're proud of you. We see you doing the work." And I'm not talking about America's Got Talent. We're seeing your clips. They're starting to pop up everywhere.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. We started our comedy series where we're at last
Mhm.
year, and we had to start out. We are a small community, so I had to start out relatively conservative with um, the comics that we had.
Yeah.
Uh, Kat Valentine is actually who put me on to you last year, and
Hmm.
so I'd had my beat on you for a while. And I'm like, this guy is fantastic. The comedy
Thank you,
series
buddy.
went really well last
Hmm.
year, and now we were able to branch out a little bit and diversify. So we're very
Excellent.
excited
Yeah.
for this entire the entire comedy series is fantastic. We stepped up a good
So
bit.
I'm
I got to ask you about.
And you also picked talking about myself a little bit because you also, I, this sounds very morbid and dark, but at one point I chose to live my life for my eulogy. What that means is I really want people to say good things. And one of the things that I discussed with my manager and everything, Dave Rath, and this guy, he handles like Patton Oswalt and a bunch of big acts.
Yeah,
I'm the lowest guy on that roster, but I'm the only me on that roster.
that's right.
And we were talking, and we were seeing that this thing might change and everything. And one of the things that I did say is like, no matter what, whatever dates we have on the books, we're honoring every date. I don't care what price they got me at. I don't care. We honor every day. We show up to every day. And he just looks at me. I still live by a code. I do have a code. So I live by it, and I'm excited to go do the comedy series with you guys, man.
I
I
love it,
really am.
man. I love it. Uh, I do have to ask you a little bit about Simon. I don't know if you remember, but his first few years during the American Idol stint,
Hmm.
he was just uh, harsh. Like
Yes.
he was a huge critic, and it's neat to see him go from that. And I believe it was kind of like a facade to generate interest in the show.
Yes.
To go from that, where he's like, "You guys are just dreadful. This is awful. This is awful.
Yes.
Uh, you are so bad that you're like the person at the party that sings at the end and they tell you to leave." He
Yeah.
goes from that to, he's got genuine reviews when it comes
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
talent now.
Yes. So this funny thing, and it's funny, me and you are on the same energy and same thought process. I'm very, in my own way, I don't know him. I'm very proud of him. So I do my audition, the last one, the live show. I do the live show. When the camera shut off, that they go to commercials, they actually put a clock that's counting down to when the show is back on live because they're running commercials at the time. He did not let me. My wife has good pictures of it. He did not let me get off the stage. He got up from his chair, waved a finger at me, and walked over to me.
That's awesome.
Gave me a hug, and he says, "Everything that I said, I meant. You're fantastic. You're funny, and I do believe that comics have it the hardest on this show." And then I said, "Thank you so much. If you give me a second, I want to tell you something." He goes, "What is it?" I said, "I want to tell you that I love your evolution. I love that you were that guy back in the day,
Heck yeah.
and now you're this guy now. The guy with kids, the guy that survived two accidents that could have gone left for you with the
Yeah.
bicycle, and now you're this kind-hearted guy that still has his edge to him, but you've decided to approach the world with kindness." And he just stood there, and my wife took pictures, and she goes, "I thought you guys were gonna make out. What were you talking
Wow.
about?" And so, and dude, I'm telling you, Brandon, the pictures look very suspect, bro. There's a lot of grabbing by the back, because I'm not afraid to hug another man, and I'm
No,
hugging him. He's hugging me. There's a
that's
lot.
great.
He has his hands around my cheeks over here. It looks very, from a distance, very incriminating, man. Very.
Um,
I'm glad there was a bunch of people there that can testify. No lines are crossed,
you don't get
but
random midnight texts from him
yeah,
now, do you?
yeah, yes, yes, yes. It's cool. Terry Crews is the only one who's reached out and sent me, like, he started following me on Instagram. But
Nice.
Terry Crews and I were just having the funnest time
Yeah.
backstage because we genuinely are like, hey man, like this is we already won. Like Terry Crews has a great story where his first acting
100%.
gig was on training day, and he just showed up because a friend told him, "Hey, just show up and come and hang out." And the director walked up to him, "Hey man, you want to be in this movie?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever. Okay, go up on the roof and you're gonna clap, and the pigeons are gonna call. It's called flipping pigeons. That's what you do when cops are in the area to let the rest of the drug dealers to know that cops are in the area." He
Huh.
goes, and he does it, and he said, "I did all of training day, all those scenes that you see with me on training day, and I didn't get paid 1 cent."
I'll be
But
darned.
his career's just been like,
Yeah.
and he has the hardest job. The hardest job because I'm there behind the scenes, and you see Terry Crews. He's memorizing all these scripts. Everything that he's saying is scripted. So
Yeah.
he's reading he's reading it off the teleprompter, but first during rehearsals he's already reading it and memorizing it and
Right.
looking at his notes so that once they go live, there the judges, they just get to say what's on their mind and in their
Sure.
heart. So
Yeah, that's interesting perspective. I think Terry would be a very good hang. It'd be a lot of fun.
oh, really
There's
good
a lot
hang.
of lot of good energy there. As soon as he
Re-
walks into a room, that room just goes.
Yes, yes, yes. They asked me, "What's Terry doing back there?" I said, "I think he's doing." I said it in the first show where I said, "I think he has a TED talk or something coming out. He's very motivational back there."
That's awesome. You're a big Yellowstone fan, huh?
Huge Yellowstone, and I know you're not stateside at this moment. You're somewhere out there in the world, but I guess because of the writer's strike that's going on, they moved Yellowstone to regular CBS. So now this whole group of people are gonna see on Sundays. Sunday night is part of the Sunday night lineup, and
I'll be darned.
Yellowstone. So I'm excited for all these people that get to discover Yellowstone because that's 4 seasons of Yellowstone that's
Yeah.
already in the can that they're gonna get to see, plus half of season 5. I can't wait to see I can't wait for that second half. I don't know what's
I
going on
know.
between Taylor and Kevin
Kevin.
Costner.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Kevin Costner's band tweeted at me and Instagram me after I did the Yellowstone bit,
That's
the
awesome.
first on the Tonight Show. Yeah, I was
That's
like, I
awesome.
was shocked. My wife started laughing because she said, uh, his band just Instagrammed at you, and I was just like, oh, that's awesome, man.
Well, it's obvious that you're doing something right when you're getting attention from people like that.
Yes, people love their names also, Brandon. People love their names. That's one of the good things that I'm very grateful when I do something. There is a guy named Eric Ladd, and I did go to his wedding in Yellowstone, and that's where I wrote that set in
That's
Yellowstone. My
fantastic.
wife and I were up there, and we were there for the wedding, but they were doing all these activities, so we were there 3 days before the wedding. So her and I would just hop in the Forerunner and drive straight into the park every day because you
Nice.
pay the one-time fee. Now you can go in for 7 days, in and out, in and
Yeah.
out. So every day we were there, and I just recently got brought back up to Big Sky, Montana, and I got to spend like 3 days with Lord Heron, the band, and the Foo Fighters. So
No
I got
kidding.
to, yeah, it was like this concert for like
That's awesome.
5,000 people, which these guys are playing, stadium and arenas.
Right.
And here they are, which is 5,000 people is the equivalent of an intimate crowd. I'm going back
Yeah.
up for the PBR for the rodeo. So
Fantastic.
the guy Eric Ladd also handles the PBR in Big Sky, so he brings the whole rodeo. I'm going up there, and
Right
actually,
on.
Kylie, the band, one of the bands that was just on America's Got Talent, that they're like a country band.
Hmm.
They're from Louisiana, but they're based out of Nashville. They're gonna go and perform because I put them together with Eric Ladd, and I was like, hey, I think these guys will be perfect, and I believe that they'll be up there for the PBR. I'm excited about that.
Nice.
I
Two
think it's
things.
somewhere in
One.
my DNA, dude. The whole country, riding horses, cowboy, and also, we all want the same thing. Protect your home and give your kids a good living and provide for your
Absolutely.
family. And if it's mine, unless I offer it to you, don't come and touch it. Don't be disrespectful. Know your place, dude.
Yeah.
And if you ask me for it, I'll probably, yeah, man, here you go. But just
Yeah.
don't come
I
you
love
know
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If it's mine, just don't come and touch it.
Yeah. Two things. One, you did the piece about the mineral water, about the cucumber water, and I
Yeah, yeah.
have cucumber water twice a day here, and every
Yes,
single time I get it, I giggle
yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
thinking about
It's
that bit.
actually better than lemon water. I heard that a
Yeah.
lady broke it down for me, and it's funny because you meet these people and they're like, "I'm glad you said the thing," and you're the second person that even is recognizing that I said cucumber water.
Yeah.
Right? It's a funny thing to say, but she goes, I go, yes, I actually just have lemon water every morning to trigger my whole system, and she goes, actually do cucumber water because it won't affect your teeth. The
Huh.
lemon. I was like, oh, okay. There you go, Lee. You learned something new. So you were
Well,
telling me something about cucumber water.
yeah, just that I giggle every time I go to our chow hall and I grab the cucumber water. I just think about that bit.
Yeah.
And number two, my son, crazy enough, is actually out in Wyoming now attending
Yeah.
welding school, and before he left, he got into bull riding like 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
kind of interesting how those connections are made.
Yes. That's really cool, man. I haven't gone to Wyoming. You cross it, actually, you crossed into Wyoming when you're leaving Big Sky and you go into
Yeah,
Yellowstone. Because one of the entrances by Big Sky was closed. So we did cross into Wyoming. But I want to see those plains, man. And I'm just interested what property values there. I hit that age where it's like, well, what does it cost to
yeah,
but and then I started doing the like you go on these. I hit that age where everything I self-analyze. Where's this coming from? Where's this freedom that you're searching for? And it's like, oh, my childhood. When I was a kid, what we did every summer vacation was to go work at my grandmother's farm. You know,
yeah,
and I, as a kid, because I'm doing it at 7 years old, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And
sure.
then I also know now as a grown man, I'm like, oh man, they were just trying to tire us out because they would put my cousins and me to separate the mom cows from the calves at night so there could be milk in the morning. So they would put us and we would be in the corrals just chasing them, trying to separate in them. No horses, no nothing, just us on foot. And now I'm like, oh, they were genius, man. They would tire us out. And then I have great memories of falling asleep inside the mango trees because she had a lot of mango trees. This is in the Caribbean.
That's awesome.
And just falling asleep in the mango trees, just in between the branches. And really
That's
cool, man.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? I read an interview in the Miami Herald you did a few years back about growing up, and
Yeah.
for me, it was very powerful to read. I think it's hard for American people who don't step outside of our borders to grasp the ideas of showering, utilizing
Yes.
buckets, or the intermittent water and electricity comes on, comes off,
Yes.
um, and just the lack of amenities that we feel like we can't live without. Uh,
Yes.
just love a good underdog story, man.
Oh man, thanks, man. And what's good that I don't some people, and I'm glad you look at it that way and you don't look at me like, oh, like with pity and stuff like that. It's just good. It's just, man, I'm so grateful for that, because then I appreciate everything so much, Brandon. I really do. I'm like, everything that I do, I genuinely, I tell people a lot. Like when I tell people, hey man, I just put my head down and I work. I come
Yeah.
up every 10 years. Oh, I own a house. Let me put my head back down to pay the taxes now. You know, that's
Love
and
it.
then I tag it with, like, I'm not a victim. I never identify as a victim. It's just, uh, I'm just designed that way. My mother worked too hard for me not to be designed, not to have picked up on that energy. And believe it or not, those were the fun times, was going to the farm, because it was hard living. But guess what? There was plenty of food, because everybody, it's that whole thing where, like, sometimes we think we're going into something better, but we're not. So all the country people, all the equivalent of country folk, who grow their own food, who have their cows, and they have to milk them in the morning, and
Yeah.
have their own cattle, and they got to go and butcher them and do all the dressing themselves, which is a thing. I've
Sure.
seen hogs, I've seen goats get dressed and stuff as a kid. Yes, it was a little bit like, yo, I should not be seeing this, and it has permanent real estate in my brain,
Yeah.
taken up. But uh, it was that whole thing where everybody wanted to live in the city, but the city doesn't function right, especially in Dominican Republic. And I've been gone there for years, so I can't speak of it now, but I can speak of
Sure.
it when I was a child. That, hey, I remember carrying the little bucket on the head because the water only came. And we had big oil drums, Brandon, big oil drums that my uncles had gotten for my mom. And they clean them out, and then they put concrete on them on the inside, and they filled those up with water. And that's the cooking water, that's the bathing water, that's because. And I remember seeing something on TV, and don't tell me how, but I knew about pools because I am an American citizen. So
Yeah.
my mentality was also different, because I would live in the States, and then I would go back to Dominican Republic. And so I guess living in the States, I must have seen something with a pool. So as a kid, I jumped in the tank, and I'm just like floating around. And man, did they put a whooping to my
Uh,
backside, dude, because I messed up all the water. I
yeah.
messed up. So that water was now like the gray water. That would be the water that we would use. Like if we use the bathroom, we would grab
Yep.
a bucket, go up high, and drop it into the toilet, and then that would
Yep.
be the water that would flush everything out.
Yeah.
You know.
They
So
where we're at, they've got to truck every drop of water in
uh-huh. Yeah.
for us. So
Jesus, man. Yeah.
yeah,
I
crazy.
I I feel it, but and it just shows you, man. You appreciate it, man. You appreciate it. That's why, no matter what we're going through here, uh, in the States, I always say I'm grateful, because there's certain places that don't even get the opportunity to for you to even protest about something, or
Absolutely.
challenge the system, or grab a picket sign. Right now, I'm in La La Land. I'm in Hollywood, and I'm
Yeah.
seeing it, man. These guys, the actors, the union writers, they're picketing, and I'm on their side. Their union.
Hmm.
I'm a union guy, and I believe on what they're doing. That whole thing about that they scan you once, and then that's it for perpetuity. They're allowed to use you for the rest of, and not cut you a check ever again.
Wow.
That's one of the big sticking points in there. And I'm seeing these guys now, that I'm seeing people I recognize, and that you probably recognize. There's how they say, it's a zoo, right? And there's the elephants. This is Hollywood. The elephants and the lions and the tigers. When you go to the zoo, that's what you're gonna go see. And those are
Sure.
your Tom Hanks, your Brad Pitt, your George Clooney's. But
Right.
then there's the prairie dogs, and that's where I'm at, which is the
Yeah.
everyday guy journeyman that probably has 100 films under his belt, and you
Yeah.
kind of recognize him. You don't know his name, and some of these guys and gals, I'm starting to notice them at like a Trader Joe's bagging groceries and everything. And they have their mask on and everything, but the eyes don't lie, and I see what they're going through,
Right.
because it's like these are the journeymen that you get that check, and you try to live off of that check, save some of it, maybe invest some of it. till you get to your next bridge to the next one.
Yeah, I did
I
see a
talk
little
a
clip
lot,
from
man. I talk a lot.
You're good,
Once
dude.
you get
That's
me
what
going.
it's all about. So it's all about. I did see a clip of Bob Odenkirk today or yesterday, that he's out there on the front lines.
Yeah,
doing
I
the
love
thing.
Bob, man. My manager, he had he had like something went wrong, and he ended up in the emergency room, and then they ended up keeping him overnight. And then his partner called me, and she was just like, "Hey, just letting you know, David's gonna be out of it for a couple of days, so I'm coming." And then I go, "Yeah, okay, that's cool. You're covering. What happened to Dave?" I go, and then she goes, "No, nothing you got to worry about." I said, "All right, now I'm gonna ask you again. What happened to Dave?" None. Hey, Orlando, we got it covered on this. And okay, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. I hung up. I grabbed the phone. I called Dave's wife, and
Yeah.
she's like, "He's at Mount Sinai. This way." You go, "I'm on the way." You know.
Right on.
And
That's
my
awesome.
wife and I, we hop in the car because I lived. I understand. I live different. I'm telling you, man, I really do try to live my life for my eulogy. And
Yeah, I
we
can
go
see
over
that.
there, and when I walk in, the biggest Bob Odenkirk sitting next to Dave's bed, holding his hand. You
That's
know,
awesome.
but that's who my manager is. He's one of these guys that the day he crosses over to the next side, that celebration is going to be large because understand that's not even his manager. That's just his friendship. And when Gary Shanley passed, Dave, my manager Dave, he got part of Gary Shanley, the family. It was in the will that he would get part of his ashes, a little
I'll be darned.
token, and that's the type of guy that manages me, and I hold myself to that standard. So, but that Bob Odenkirk name you saying that just triggered, man. That was so beautiful. I walked into that hospital. They're out of the emergency room now. They have him in a room, and he's all wired up. And just seeing Bob Odenkirk just holding his hand, and Dave's
Awesome,
wife to the side, and then this whole thing on the side where everybody left their name tag, And this is also going on during COVID, my friend.
Yeah.
So it's like people are risking themselves just because, this guy.
Right.
So, yeah,
Well,
top stand-up guy, Bob Odenkirk. And wherever he sees me, he always says hello and stuff like that.
fantastic.
I just look at him as a Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul. That's all I say every time that I see him.
Oh man, yeah, such a great actor. Great series.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, great series.
Yes.
I am like an anti-mainstream. I don't know why,
Mhm.
but Yellowstone grabbed me. Like
Yeah.
that. Typically, I would wait years before I would watch something, but I now waited for
But
years.
it's not mainstream. It's just we talk about it. But you understand that, like, to watch it, I try to explain to people, dude, you got to go to a channel that nobody watches hardly. I don't think people are just sticking around watching Paramount Network or or go on the app. It's just another way to describe it to people, Brandon, is Sopranos on horseback.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah, that's pretty
Because
good.
you could even say, well, they're not doing anything illegal. And I go, oh, they're kind of dropping bodies in Wyoming. So, yeah, I think that there's something illegal about that.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at it, I hope that now you look at it in a different, is that whole Tony Soprano. I don't know if you got into The Sopranos with
Sure.
Anthony Soprano. You kind of like, yeah, he's a mob boss and he does a lot of. I kind of like the guy because he's just.
Yeah.
They get you with the whole. Brandon, with the family thing. They get you with the family thing. With that, once they go inside of their home, they're the sweetest person. It's like, that's who I am. I just want to take care of my wife and my kids and protect her, and don't touch my stuff unless I tell you it's okay to touch my stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know why I am that way though, but it took me years to watch Breaking Bad, and I binge watched that sucker, and
then
I
you were
loved
like,
it.
yeah, same here, 100%.
What am I waiting on?
Yeah. So the thing with me was that, God, and I think not. The more I talk and the type of shows I like, you're gonna figure me out even more. The thing with me that everybody was into Breaking Bad, and I was into Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like dipping into the Breaking Bad world. I was trying to get everybody, dude, you got Sons of Anarchy, they're ex-military guys, and then they start and they're the one percenters, and it's not
Yeah.
really racist. They're not really racist. They got a Puerto Rican guy in there and stuff like that. That's part of, you know what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
Jax is just cool. He wears Air Force One's Nikes. You know, that's weird, but that's how he rides the motorcycle in Air
That's
Force One
right.
Nikes.
Oh yeah.
They all just got together on Instagram because one of the actors, Emilio, who played the leader of the Mayans, uh,
Yeah.
uh, for Sons of Anarchy, the whole cast just got together and they all were out in the picket line together with the head
Right on.
writer of, yeah, right, of Sons of Anarchy. I just saw that today on social media. I was like, oh, that's a good look.
That's awesome. You
Yeah.
know, you kind of alluded to this when we talked about AGT.
Mhm.
I'm curious to know you are, and I've heard it, and I believed it even before we actually had this conversation because I could feel it just coming from your sets. But you're a very likable person, and now I know why. Has anyone ever told you they didn't like it because you were too nice, or maybe just out of spite, like, ah, this guy's too nice, it can't be real?
Yeah, I get a lot of that, and then I guess I planted enough seeds throughout my life that when they go, because it's always someone else that reports back to me, hey, you know, someone, he wasn't really, he thought that you ain't, and I had to check him and tell him, no, that's who that dude is. Like, he stays in his lane, he doesn't bother anybody, he celebrates the wins that other people get and stuff. And I've got, or like people, and also there's that balance, Brandon, where like it also goes the other way, where I might drop a curse word in a bit, but it's like it's then they're shocked and they're like, I thought you were 100% clean and
Yeah.
you're clean, and then I go, oh, I'm sorry, you got that wrong. I'm just a human being just like you. It's just on TV, you know, I'm not allowed. That's still not allowed. Cable, yes, but on regular access TV where everybody can watch for free, I'm not allowed to curse on that.
Yeah.
So, but I saw you on the Tonight Show, and every set that you've done, again, I'm not allowed to curse on
Yeah.
TV unless it's like a cable show. And so I take a lot of pride. It's part of the hard work in my world, which is a lot of pride of like designing a set just for designing a 5 minute set for Jimmy Fallon, or
Yeah.
designing a 2 minutes and 30 second set for an America's Got Talent. Is I actually have friends who call me and it's like, hey, can you help me out? I'm trying to get a set together for late night, which it could be
Nice.
Colbert, it could be Conan, um, it could be Fallon, and I'm more than happy because it is. I take pride in it. I really do take pride in it. Because I thought everybody could do it, and then I found out no, not everybody can do it. Because also there's some comics who live and die by uh, the sword of what they are. You know, and
Sure.
what's good for me is that I am who I am. I don't curse in front of like an old lady. But me and you
Right.
could be chilling, having a couple of beers, and probably a beer or two, because I get real tipsy really fast. I'm not that big of a drinker, but you know, and then an F word will drop here, and an mother effer will drop there, and everything. But here's the thing that I can vouch for: when it does come out, they're like, yeah, it's
It was pointed. It had
justifiable.
purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It had so like that. I like. There's a big there's a conversation between Jerry Seinfeld and Louis C.K. And Louis C.K. is actually telling the story about Jerry Seinfeld. And um, he goes to Louis. Louis goes to Jerry. Hey Jerry, you think I used the word F a lot? You think I dropped too many F bombs? And he goes, what do you think of the word the F bombs? And he goes, well, you know, it's your style, man. You know, F bombs are like Corvettes. He goes, they're like Corvettes. And then Louis C.K. goes, F bombs are like Corvettes. Yeah, I like that. Fast, powerful, strong. Corvettes are sporty.
That's
I like that. And then he goes, wait a minute, but don't you only drive Porsches?
right. Uh-huh. Love it. Love it.
Love that. Clip has lived in my brain for years, man. This is like
Heck yeah.
that clip has to be at least 10 years old. It was a whole interview with him, Chris Rock, and Jerry Seinfeld, and who else? The guy that created The Office. Oh man, that he does great. He does all the roasting every time he does like the Emmys or something like that. Ricky
This-
Gervais.
okay. Okay.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. That dude's something else for sure.
Yeah.
You know what, Orlando? In the segment before this, before we brought you on, I talked about spooky season. Are you a horror movie fan?
No,
And if
dude.
so, no, not
Nah,
your thing.
nah. I've seen already enough horror. I don't need to. My
Okay.
wife doesn't. My wife loves it. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. She's like, oh my god, don't you like? I'm like, nah. I've seen enough horror to like. When you grow up, when you're 7 years old, and then, dude, I was in the middle of of riots. They were rioting in my in Dominican Republic when I lived there as a child, and I remember like coming out to like what would be the porch, but our porch was all boarded up with bars all over, but it was like a porch. And I remember just sneaking out to see, being a curious kid. And I saw some of the things that were going on outside between the army, the cops, and the people,
Yeah.
and the difference between being armed with a rifle and being armed with a rock
Sure.
and batons, and then I was just like, all right, I, I think I've seen enough. I've seen enough darkness. I don't
Fair.
need to. I don't need to. I don't need that side of me to be woken up. It woke up a long time ago. I've seen it. I've
I
seen
get
it.
it.
Yeah, I get it, dude. So no, no, no. Right now, they're and I know it's compared to some of the stuff that you've probably seen um, in your life, dude. Right now, my friends, they're all getting together and they're like, yeah, we're going to Hollywood Horror Nights. We're going, and everybody's excited about going to Hollywood Horror Nights. Orlando, are you coming? I said, nah, I don't, but Vanessa will
That's a no
probably
for me,
go.
though.
Yeah, it's a bunch of couples. We're all friends, and to be honest with you, I'll probably end up going. But I just, we pay a little bit more, so when you pay a little bit more, you actually get someone that escorts you, and then I just kind of like blaze through the thing. It's,
I
it's just
got
a it's just a guy with a mask on and a fake chainsaw. But in this day and time, I don't know if he's had a good day, bro. Brandon, I don't know if the guy with the fake chainsaw and a
you. Yep.
mask that I cannot identify has had a good day or bad day. I've
That's
seen
true.
guys get real hairy after an argument with their wife in the car, and they try to come in and deal with the rest of the world after they. And now it's like, oh, I gotta put this on somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
also
used to work
understand.
for a guy, dude. This was
Yeah.
really great, and I don't know if you ran into these canine units, but I used to work for a guy, and he had like some level. I think they're called Shih Tzu or something. I forgot the name of the training of German shepherds, and this was an actual German shepherd. His name was Otto. I loved him to death because he kind of saved me in Birmingham, Alabama, when I was traveling with him, and we were Brandon. Uh, he was trained that you could be outside arguing with your wife, and then you could hang up, gather yourself, and then walk into the house. And as soon as you walked into the house, the dog would come and sit right next to you. And then my boss, which is also, he wasn't a boss, he was more like a mentor. He guided me till this day. Me and him talk. Really smart guy in every aspect of life. Uh, he would just look at you. He goes, "Hey, Orlando, what's going on?" And then I go, "No, no, everything's cool. Everything's cool." And he goes, "Otto's telling me it's not cool. What's
Wow.
going on?" And it was the first time that I realized that that's why Otto would do that. That certain people would come and visit the house, and Otto would just keep roaming and park himself somewhere. But when certain people, he would go and sit right next to them or just lay down right next to them. and he was like a German Shepherd, so he was like bigger than a regular
Yeah,
American German Shepherd. I love that dog, dude. I
that's
love
awesome,
that
man.
dog. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I don't think we deserve the love that the dogs give us.
Oh, dude, mine right now broke her leg, dude. So now she's in a full cast. She's
Oh
16
man,
years old, blind, and we're just like, very good. The doctor just keeps on telling us she's healthy, all her organs, and she's healthy. She eats every day. She
it's
uses,
awesome.
she doesn't have accidents. She still tells us, hey, I need to go outside and everything. But she busted her leg up and she lost her eyesight, and she's still ticking. Sense of
Oh, man,
smell
darn.
now. Yeah,
Well,
they're
I
awesome.
also hear that you are a foodie, so that's
Huh?
exciting for us.
Oh, I'm a journey guy, dude. You put me onto a good place, and I'm in town. I'm gonna go.
Good, good. So where you're performing, we have our restaurant, Three Ravens. We're an
Yeah.
Irish American blended restaurant,
Hmm.
and you're performing in our event space, which is right smack dab next door.
Yes.
So you'll be there for a couple days. Love to hear your thoughts on the menu and what you choose to dive into.
We do it, man. I like it. I feel I kind of the thing is I am very picky, so I can't model myself after Anthony Bourdain. But one of the good quotes that he left us with was, "In order to find a great meal, you must suffer through a lot of bad ones." Yeah, I don't like suffering through bad ones, man. I don't like. I've had food poisoning. I don't. It's like, I'm already too old to be catching those L's. That's a bad L to catch, brother.
Absolutely.
My buddy called me. He was in Bali and he caught what they call Bali belly, and he was just. And they had to come and treat him. The good thing in those countries, the doctor comes to you.
That's good.
Yeah. In DR, we went to Dominican Republic, my wife and I, but I didn't want to put her through the realness. So I went to a resort and she got alcohol poisoning.
Oh
And
man.
dude, it was like back in the day, like when we used to see in TV, the doctor showed up with his little case and showed up to the hotel, to the resort. In our room, they grabbed it. It was great because it was kind of like triage. They were like, we know exactly what's wrong with her. And then I said, her veins are hard to find, so she needs like a butterfly. So the guy literally took the artwork from behind the headboard, took it off, and grabbed an IV, hung it from there, and ran a line with a butterfly and put it into her arm, and then injected some stuff. She goes, "She'll be good. She'll make the plane today."
Wow, that's
and she
awesome.
made the plane, and it cost me the equivalent of 25 US.
Holy cow. Huh. That's interesting, but that's
Yeah,
a whole
but that
another
was
rabbit hole.
resort living. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like we were at a resort and everything, and it wasn't even like it was a German resort. The whole resort was it's a German company, and even it was so weird, just culture shock to me, seeing guys that look just like me that speak Spanish and they have the whole Dominican swagger, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden go into fluent German. Like I was just like, whoa,
Wow.
yeah.
Orlando, I think those are all the questions I have for you today. I do appreciate your time. I
Thank you,
think
buddy.
you and I could probably sit here and talk for hours and hours.
Oh, yeah. I'm one of those guys, man. You just let me go. We go. You start asking questions. I'll start asking questions. Next thing you know, 3 hours have passed by.
There it is. Yeah, Orlando will be performing live March 21st and 22nd at our 3 Squared Coffee and Event Space.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's tell some jokes. Let's make people laugh, man.
Daddy said